The sleek, silver spacecraft shuddered violently as it plummeted through Earth's atmosphere. Inside Zara, a young Novan explorer, frantically worked the controls, her four-fingered hands dancing across the holographic interface. Alarms blared, and red warning lights bathed the cockpit in an ominous glow. Come on, Zara muttered, her large, almond-shaped eyes reflecting the chaos of the ship's systems. She had been on a routine survey mission when an unexpected solar flare had knocked out her ship's main drive. Now she was hurtling towards an unknown planet, one that wasn't even supposed to be in this sector. The ship bucked and groaned as it hit the upper atmosphere. Zara gritted her teeth, her silvery skin glistening with sweat. She'd trained for emergency landings, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The planet below was a swirling mass of blue and green, unlike anything she'd seen before. As the ground rushed up to meet her, Zara made a split-second decision. She diverted all remaining power to the ship's inertial dampeners and braced for impact. The world outside became a blur of green and brown as the ship plowed through a dense canopy of trees. With a deafening crash, the ship slammed into the forest floor. Zara was thrown forward, her safety harness the only thing keeping her from being flung through the view screen. As quickly as it had begun, it was over. The ship creaked and settled, steam hissing from ruptured coolant lines. Zara hung there for a moment, dazed and disoriented. Her head throbbed, and she could taste something metallic in her mouth. Slowly, she unclipped her harness and stumbled to her feet. The ship's interior was a mess of sparking wires and shattered panels. She made her way to the emergency locker, retrieving a survival pack and her personal data pad. As she did so, she caught sight of her reflection in a cracked screen. A thin line of silvery blood trickled from a cut on her forehead. Zara wiped it away, wincing at the sting. With shaky hands, she activated her data pad and began scanning her surroundings. The readings made her heart sink. The atmosphere was a toxic soup of nitrogen and oxygen, lethal to her kind without proper filtration. The gravity was crushing, nearly 1.2 times what she was used to. And the temperature, Zara shuddered. It was like standing next to a fusion reactor. "Okay, Zara," she said to herself, trying to calm her racing hearts. "Assess the situation, follow the protocol." She took stock of her supplies. The survival pack contained enough concentrated nutrient gel to last a week, maybe 2 if she rationed carefully. Her exosuit, designed for short exploratory missions, had an atmospheric filter that would give her about 5 days of breathable air. After that, Zara pushed the thought aside. She needed to focus on the immediate problem, getting off this death trap of a planet. She tried the ship's communication array, but it was dead, likely fried during the crash. The emergency beacon was operational, but its range was limited. It would take weeks, maybe months, for a signal to reach Novan space. A rustling sound from outside the ship made Zara freeze. She peered out through the cracked view screen, her eyes widening in alarm. The forest around her was alive with movement. Strange, chittering sounds filled the air, punctuated by low growls and the snapping of branches. Something large moved in the shadows, just out of sight. Zara's breath caught in her throat. She'd studied xenobiology, but nothing could have prepared her for the sheer alienness of this world. Every instinct screamed at her to run, to hide. But where? The ship was her only shelter, and it was compromised. She needed to find a more secure location, somewhere she could set up the emergency beacon and wait for rescue. With trembling hands, Zara sealed her exosuit and checked the atmospheric filters. They hummed to life, providing her with clean, breathable air. She slung the survival pack over her shoulder and gripped her data pad tightly. It was her lifeline, containing all the information she had about this strange, hostile world. Taking a deep breath, Zara hit the emergency release on the ship's hatch. It hissed open, letting in a wave of hot, humid air that made her skin crawl even through the exosuit. The sounds of the alien forest grew louder, more immediate. Zara stepped out of the ship her legs nearly buckling under the increased gravity. She stumbled, catching herself against the hull. The forest loomed around her, a riot of green and brown unlike anything on her homeworld. Trees towered overhead, their branches interlocking to form a dense canopy that blocked out much of the harsh sunlight. The ground was soft and spongy beneath her feet, covered in a thick layer of decomposing plant matter. Strange, multi-legged creatures scurried away as she took her first tentative steps. In the distance, something let out a bone-chilling roar. Zara's heart pounded in her chest, every fiber of her being told her she didn't belong here, that this world would kill her given half a chance. But she was a Novan explorer, trained to face the unknown. She had to survive. She had to find a way home. With one last look at her ruined ship, Zara set off into the alien forest. She didn't know what dangers lay ahead, but she was determined to face them. Somewhere on this hostile world, there had to be a way to contact her people, and she would find it, no matter what it took. As she pushed through the dense underbrush, Zara's mind raced with questions. What kind of creatures inhabited this world? Were there intelligent species? And if so, would they be friend or foe? Little did she know, her arrival had not gone unnoticed. Deep in the forest, eyes watched her stumbling progress, human eyes, and they belonged to someone who was about to turn Zara's world upside down all over again. The adventure was just beginning. Zara had been trudging through the dense forest for hours, each step a battle against the crushing gravity. Her muscles ached, and her breathing was labored despite the exosuit's assistance. The alien sounds of Earth's ecosystems surrounded her, a cacophony of chirps, growls, and rustling leaves that set her nerves on edge. As the strange sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long shadows through the trees, Zara realized she needed to find shelter for the night. Her data pad warned of dropping temperatures, and she had no idea what nocturnal predators might emerge in the darkness. She stumbled upon a small clearing where a fallen tree created a natural hollow. It wasn't ideal, but it would have to do. Zara crawled into the space, setting up her emergency beacon and taking stock of her supplies. As she unsealed a packet of nutrient gel, a twig snapped nearby. Zara froze, her hearts racing. Something was out there watching her. She held her breath, straining her ears. Another snap, closer this time. Then, a voice. "Hey there, you lost." Zara nearly jumped out of her skin. The words were alien, but her translator implant quickly deciphered them. She spun around, coming face to face with a creature she'd only seen in historical archives. A human. He stood at the edge of the clearing, hands raised in a non-threatening gesture. He was tall, with sun-darkened skin and shaggy brown hair. His clothes were warm and patched, blending seamlessly with the forest around him. "It's okay," the human said softly. "I'm not going to hurt you. My name's Jake Harper." Zara's mind raced. Humans weren't supposed to be here. This sector was unexplored, off-limits. Yet here one stood, speaking to her as if encountering an alien was an everyday occurrence. I am Zara," she managed to say, her translator converting her words into the human's language. How are you here?" Jake's eyebrows shot up in surprise. "Me? How am I here?" "Lady, I live here. The question is, how are you here? And what exactly are you?" Zara hesitated. First contact protocol dictated caution, but she was alone on a hostile world. She needed help. "I am a Novan explorer. My ship, it crashed. I'm stranded." Jake whistled low. "Well, ain't that something? An honest-to-God alien. Crashed right in my backyard." He chuckled, shaking his head. "You picked one hell of a place to land, Zara. This ain't exactly a tourist destination." "I didn't choose to come here," Zara said, a hint of frustration in her voice. "This planet isn't even supposed to be inhabited. Our records show this entire sector as uninhabited." Jake's expression darkened. "Yeah, well, a lot of folks would prefer it stay that way. Listen, it's not safe out here after dark. Why did you come with me? I've got a cabin not far from here. We can talk more there." Zara hesitated. Trust a strange alien on an unknown world. But what choice did she have? Her supplies were limited, and she had no idea how to survive in this hostile environment. "All right," she said finally. "Lead the way." As they trekked through the darkening forest, Jake explained that they were in a remote region of a place called North America. He was a wildlife researcher studying the ecosystem in this isolated area. "But you're not just a researcher, are you?" Zara asked, noticing the way Jake moved through the forest with practiced ease, how his eyes constantly scanned their surroundings. Jake smiled wryly. "Observant. You're right, I'm not. Used to be military, special forces. Now well, let's just say I keep an eye on things out here." They reached Jake's cabin just as night fell. It was a sturdy structure of wood and stone, nearly invisible among the trees. Inside, it was sparse but comfortable, lit by solar-powered lamps. Jake offered Zara a seat and busied himself with something in the kitchen area. "So," he said, returning with 2 steaming mugs, "want to tell me the real reason you're here?" Zara accepted the mug, sniffing its contents cautiously. Her exosuit's sensors indicated it was safe to consume. "I told you it was an accident, a solar flare." "Oh, Jake interrupted. "And I'm supposed to believe that an advanced alien species just happened to crash on a backwater planet that's not even on their maps? Come on, Zara. I wasn't born yesterday." Zara sighed. "It's the truth. We had no idea Earth was here. This sector was supposed to be empty space." Jake leaned back, studying her with piercing blue eyes. "Earth's been here a long time, and we humans have been making noise for a while now. Hard to believe we went unnoticed." "We've been distracted," Zara admitted. "There was a war, a long time ago. It devastated much of our civilization. We're only now beginning to explore again." Jake's expression softened. "War has a way of doing that. All right, let's say I believe you. What's your plan now?" Zara gestured helplessly. "I don't know. My ship is destroyed. The emergency beacon might reach my people, but it could take months. I don't have months. My air supply will run out in days." Jake nodded thoughtfully. "Well, that's a problem, but maybe not an unsolvable one. Look, Zara, I'm not supposed to do this, but I might know some people who can help. People who'd be very interested in meeting you." Zara's heart skipped a beat. "You mean your government?" Jake laughed. "God, no. The government doesn't know half of what goes on out here. I'm talking about a group of scientists and engineers. They've been preparing for this kind of encounter for years." Hope blossomed in Zara's chest, quickly tempered by caution. "And what would they want in return?" "Information," Jake said simply. "Knowledge. The chance to learn about life beyond our world." Zara considered this. It went against every protocol, every rule of first contact. But the alternative was death on this alien world, and hadn't her people been isolated long enough? "All right," she said finally. "I'll meet them, but I have conditions." Jake grinned. "I wouldn't expect anything less. We'll work out the details in the morning. For now, you should rest. Tomorrow's going to be a big day." As Zara settled into the spare bed Jake offered, her mind whirled with the day's events. In the span of hours, her entire universe had changed. She crashed on an unknown world, met an alien species, and was about to violate every rule in the book. But as she drifted off to sleep, one thought kept returning. Maybe, just maybe, this accident was the beginning of something extraordinary. A bridge between 2 worlds that never should have met. Little did she know, forces were already in motion that would test her resolve, challenge her beliefs, and push her to the very limits of survival. The real adventure was just beginning. The first rays of Earth's sun had barely pierced the forest canopy when Zara was jolted awake by a loud crash. She bolted upright, her hearts racing, to find Jake already on his feet, a strange metal object in his hands. "We've got company," Jake hissed, his earlier friendliness replaced by a soldier's focus, and not the friendly kind. Zara scrambled to her feet, fighting against the planet's oppressive gravity. What's happening? Remember when I said some folks would prefer this area stay uninhabited? Jake's eyes never left the cabin's windows as he spoke. Well, seeing they got wind of your arrival, we need to move. Now. A deep mechanical whirring filled the air, growing louder by the second. Jake cursed under his breath. Drones, they're not messing around. He tossed Zara a backpack. Emergency supplies. Your suit's atmosphere regulator should interface with the oxygen tanks inside. It'll buy you a few more days. Zara caught the pack, her mind reeling. But who are they? Why? Her question was cut short as the cabin's roof exploded inward, showering them with debris. Through the newly formed hole, Zara saw a hovering machine, its multiple rotors beating the air into a frenzy. A red light blinked on its underbelly, and Jake's eyes widened. Down, he yelled, tackling Zara to the ground just as a bright beam of energy seared the air where they had been standing. The cabin erupted into chaos. Jake returned fire with his weapon, the loud reports making Zara's ears ring even through her suit. The drone sparked and spiraled away, crashing into the trees. Come on, Jake grabbed Zara's arm, half dragging her towards a hidden trapdoor in the cabin's floor. We've got about 2 minutes before they realize their toy is down. They descended into a narrow tunnel, cool earth replacing the smoke-filled air of the cabin. Jake sealed the trapdoor behind them, plunging them into darkness, broken only by the soft glow of Zara's bioluminescent skin. What's going on? Zara demanded as they hurried through the tunnel. Who's attacking us? Jake's face was grim in the ethereal light. They call themselves the Purists. Imagine the most xenophobic, isolationist humans you can, then give them access to advanced technology and a paranoid belief that Earth needs to be protected from alien influence. That's who we're dealing with. They emerged from the tunnel into a small cavern. Jake quickly accessed a hidden panel, revealing a cache of supplies and what looked like communication equipment. But how did they know I'm here? Zara asked, her mind racing. I've only been on this planet for a day. Jake's hands flew over the equipment, his expression tense. They've got eyes everywhere. Satellites, drones, even civilians on their payroll. Your crash wasn't exactly subtle. A red light began blinking on the console. Jake swore. They found the tunnel. We need to keep moving. He handed Zara what looked like a small metal disc. Emergency beacon. If we get separated, activate it. My people will find you. Your people, Zara echoed, but Jake was already moving towards another tunnel entrance. They ran through a maze of underground passages, the sounds of pursuit growing fainter behind them. Zara's muscles screamed in protest, the increased gravity making every step a challenge. Just when she thought she couldn't go on, they emerged into the open air. They were on a rocky outcrop, the forest stretching out below them. In the distance, Zara could see a glint of metal vehicles approaching fast. There's our ride, Jake said, pointing to a clearing where a sleek aircraft was touching down. Think you can make it? Zara nodded, gritting her teeth against the exhaustion. They half ran, half slid down the rocky slope, Jake providing support when Zara stumbled. They were halfway to the clearing when the air was split by the whine of engines. 3 angular craft burst from the tree line, bearing down on them with alarming speed. Purist interceptors, Jake growled. He raised his weapon, firing off several shots that seemed to bounce harmlessly off the craft's hulls. The lead interceptor opened fire, energy bolts scorching the earth around them. Zara felt the heat even through her suit, her heart's pounding in terror. Suddenly, a barrage of return fire erupted from their destination. The sleek aircraft Jake had pointed out was now hovering just above the tree line, its weapons blazing. One of the interceptors erupted in a ball of flame, spiraling into the forest. Now's our chance, Jake shouted over the din of battle. Run. They sprinted the final distance, energy bolts sizzling the air around them. The aircraft's side door slid open, revealing a woman with short cropped hair and a determined expression. Come on, she yelled, extending a hand. With a final burst of energy, Zara leaped, her fingers closing around the woman's wrist. She felt herself being pulled inside, Jake right behind her. The door slammed shut, and the aircraft rocketed upwards, pressing Zara into the floor. Through a small window, she saw the remaining interceptors falling away, unable to match their sudden acceleration. As the adrenaline of their escape began to fade, Zara found herself surrounded by curious human faces. The woman who had pulled her aboard stepped forward, her expression a mix of wonder and wariness. "Welcome aboard, Zara," she said. "I'm Dr. Elara Chen. We've got a lot to talk about." As the aircraft sped away from the battle scene, Zara realized she had just traded one uncertain situation for another. She was now in the hands of an unknown group of humans, fleeing from another group that wanted her dead or captured. Her mission of peaceful exploration had turned into a fight for survival on a planet that wasn't supposed to exist. And somewhere in the back of her mind, a troubling question began to form. If Earth had been hidden from her people, what else didn't she know? The hunt had begun, and Zara was caught in the middle of a conflict she'd barely understood. But one thing was clear. Her adventure on this Deathworld was far from over. The sleek aircraft hummed softly as it sliced through the clouds, leaving the chaos of the forest far behind. Zara sat in a comfortable but alien seat, her eyes darting between the humans surrounding her. Despite the danger they'd just escaped, she couldn't help but marvel at their diversity, each one unique in appearance and demeanor, so unlike the uniform biology of her own people. Dr. Elara Chen sat across from her, dark eyes studying Zara with barely concealed fascination. "I apologize for the rough introduction," she said, her voice calm and measured. "We've been preparing for this moment for years, but I don't think any of us truly believed it would happen in our lifetimes." Jake, looking considerably more relaxed now that they were airborne, chimed in. "Zara, meet the Cosmic Collective, Earth's unofficial welcoming committee for extraterrestrial life." Zara's translator struggled with the idiom, but she understood the gist. "You've been expecting us." A man with vibrant red hair and a smattering of freckles leaned forward. "Not you specifically," he said, his voice carrying a different accent than the others. "But we've long suspected we weren't alone in the universe. I'm Dr. Aidan O'Connor, xenobiologist, and I have about 1,000,000 questions for you." "Easy, Aidan," Elara cautioned. "Let's not overwhelm our guest." She turned back to Zara. "We're a group of scientists, engineers, and, let's call them concerned citizens who believe that humanity's future lies in the stars. We've been monitoring deep space transmissions, preparing protocols for first contact, and developing technologies to help us reach out to the cosmos." Zara's mind reeled. This went against everything she'd been taught about primitive worlds. But how? Our scans showed no signs of advanced technology on this planet. A dark-skinned woman with intricate braids laughed softly. "That would be my department. I'm Dr. Imani Okoro, quantum physicist and chief of our cloaking division. We've developed ways to mask our more interesting projects from prying eyes, both terrestrial and extraterrestrial." The implications hit Zara like a gravity wave. Her people hadn't missed Earth. Earth had been hiding. Jake must have sensed her unease. "I know it's a lot to take in, Zara, but right now, we're your best shot at getting home. The purists won't stop hunting you, and if they catch you..." He trailed off, his expression grim. Zara took a deep breath, centering herself. "All right, you've clearly gone to great lengths to help me. What do you want in return?" Elara leaned forward, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Knowledge, Zara, pure and simple. We want to learn about your people, your technology, your understanding of the universe. In exchange, we'll do everything in our power to repair your ship and get you home safely." It was a tempting offer, but Zara hesitated. I'm not authorized to share such information. Our protocols for first contact were written without knowing the full picture," Jake interjected gently. "Your people thought they were dealing with a primitive world, but we're not as primitive as you might think. And we're not asking you to hand over weapon schematics or the secrets of faster-than-light travel. Just help us understand our place in the galaxy." Zara looked around at the eager faces surrounding her. Despite her training, despite the voice in her head screaming about protocol violations, she felt a connection to these humans. Their curiosity, their determination to reach the stars despite the obstacles. It reminded her of her own people, long ago. "All right," she said finally. "I'll share what I can, but I have conditions." Hilara nodded, unsurprised. "Name them." "First, anything I share is for scientific purposes only. No military applications." Zara's voice was firm. "Second, you help me contact my people as soon as possible. And third," she hesitated, then plunged ahead. "I want to learn about you too. Your history, your cultures, your sciences. If we're to bridge the gap between our worlds, it needs to go both ways." A slow smile spread across Ilara's face. "I think we can manage that. Welcome aboard, Zara of Nova." As if on cue, the aircraft began to descend. Zara peered out the window, gasping at the sight below. Hidden in a mountain valley was a sprawling complex of sleek buildings and advanced-looking equipment. It was like nothing she'd seen in her brief time on Earth, a hidden oasis of technology in the midst of wilderness. "Welcome to Starhold," Aiden said, grinning at her amazement. "Earth's best-kept secret, and hopefully, you're home away from home for the next little while." As they touched down on a landing pad, Zara felt a mix of emotions swirling inside her. Fear of the unknown, excitement at the prospect of new discoveries, and a lingering worry about the purists and their aggression. But above all, there was hope. Hope that this unexpected detour might lead to something greater than she could have imagined. The aircraft's door slid open, revealing a bustling world of human activity. Scientists hurried between buildings, strange machines hummed and whirred, and in the distance, Zara could see what looked like a partially constructed spaceship. Ilara stood, offering her hand to Zara in what she recognized as a human greeting gesture. "Shall we begin?" Zara took a deep breath, then grasped Ilara's hand, marveling at the airiness of the five-fingered grip. "Yes," she said, her voice filled with determination. "Let's rewrite the stars together." As they stepped out into the hidden world of Starhold, Zara knew that her adventure on this Deathworld was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And somewhere out there, the purists were regrouping, planning their next move in a cosmic chess game where the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The unlikely alliance had been forged. Now, it would be tested in ways none of them could have imagined. Days at Starhold blurred into weeks as Zara immersed herself in the exchange of knowledge with her human allies. The facility was a hive of activity, with scientists and engineers working tirelessly to understand Novan technology while simultaneously sharing Earth's scientific achievements with their alien guest. Zara found herself constantly amazed by human ingenuity. While her people had indeed achieved greater technological heights in some areas, the humans' ability to innovate with limited resources was nothing short of remarkable. She spent countless hours with Dr. Imani Okoro, marveling at the elegance of Earth's quantum cloaking technology. "It's not just about hiding from sight," Imani explained one day, her hands dancing over a holographic display. "We found ways to mask energy signatures, deflect scanning beams, even create false readings. It's how we stayed hidden from both the purists and, well, your people." Zara nodded, her mind racing with the implications. This could revolutionize space exploration, allow for safer first contact protocols. Imani's eyes twinkled. "Exactly. And with your insights into Novan sensor technology, we might be able to take it even further." But it wasn't all scientific discourse and technological marvels. Zara also found herself drawn into the rich tapestry of human culture. Aiden took it upon himself to introduce her to Earth's diverse cuisines, carefully vetted for Novan biology, of course, while Jake regaled her with tales of human history and mythology. "You mean to tell me," Zara said one evening, her voice filled with amused disbelief, "that humans once believed their planet was flat?" Jake chuckled, taking a sip from his steaming mug. Some still do, believe it or not. Humans have a remarkable capacity for both brilliance and, well, let's call it selective ignorance. As the days passed, Zara felt a growing connection to these humans. Their passion, their contradictions, their unwavering determination in the face of adversity, it all reminded her of the stories she'd heard about her own ancestors before the Great War that had set Novan civilization back centuries. But even as bonds of friendship and mutual understanding grew stronger, a shadow loomed over Starhold. The purists had been quiet, too quiet, since the initial attack. Ilara and her team worked tirelessly to boost the power of Zora's distress beacon, hoping to contact the Novan fleet before the purists made their next move. It was on the eve of a breakthrough that everything changed. Zora was in the lab with Ilara, fine-tuning the amplified distress signal, when alarms began blaring throughout the facility. Jake burst into the room, his face grim. "They found us," he said, his voice tight with tension. "A purist assault force is on its way. We've got maybe an hour before they breach our outer defenses." Ilara's face paled, but her voice remained steady. "How? Our cloaking technology has limits," Imani interjected, rushing into the lab with a tablet displaying a mass of data. "They've been probing our defenses for weeks, looking for patterns. We got complacent, and they found a hole." Zara felt a cold dread settling in her stomachs. "What do we do?" Ilara's eyes hardened with determination. "We get you out of here. Your beacon is ready. We just need to get you high enough into the atmosphere for the signal to punch through." "But what about all of you?" Zara protested. "I can't just leave you to face the purists alone." Jake placed a hand on her shoulder, his touch gentle but firm. "This isn't your fight, Zara. We knew the risks when we started this project. Getting you home, establishing a connection between our worlds, that's what matters now." A plan quickly took shape. While the majority of Starhold's personnel would remain behind to hold off the purist assault, a small team would escort Zara to a hidden launch facility in the mountains. There, a prototype spacecraft, part Earth technology, part reverse-engineered from Zara's crashed ship, waited to carry her into orbit. As they made final preparations, alarms blared with increasing urgency. The purists had broken through the outer defenses faster than anticipated. Time was running out. "Remember," Ilara said as they rushed towards the hangar bay, her voice tight with emotion, "no matter what happens, you've given us hope. A glimpse of a larger universe. That's a gift beyond measure." Zara felt her heart constrict. In the span of a few short weeks, these humans had become more than allies. They were friends. The thought of leaving them to face the purists alone was almost unbearable. They reached the hangar just as the first explosions rocked the facility. Jake and Aiden quickly prepped a rugged transport vehicle while Imani made last-minute adjustments to a portable version of their cloaking technology. "It won't fool them for long," she warned, "but it should buy you enough time to reach the launch site." As Zara climbed into the vehicle, a final barrage of weapons fire echoed through the complex. Ilara grabbed her hand, her eyes shining with a mix of fear and determination. "Go," she said softly. "Show your people that we're ready. That we're worthy of the stars." With a heavy heart, Zara nodded. The transport's engines rolled to life, and they sped out of the hangar into the night. Behind them, Starhold erupted into chaos as the purist forces breached the inner defenses. As they raced through the mountain paths, weaving between trees and boulders, Zara's mind whirled with conflicting emotions. Guilt at leaving her friends behind, fear of what lay ahead, and a burning determination to complete her mission, not just for her own people, but for the humans who had risked everything to help her. The launch site loomed ahead, a sleek spacecraft gleaming in the moonlight. But as they approached, Zara's keen eyes spotted movement in the shadows. The purists had anticipated their escape route. Jake cursed, swerving the transport to avoid a barrage of energy weapons. "Looks like we're going to have to fight our way through." As they skidded to a stop behind a rocky outcropping, Zara made a decision. She had come to this world as an explorer, an observer. But now, with the fate of two civilizations hanging in the balance, it was time to become something more. A hero. No, she said, her voice filled with a newfound strength. We're going to face them together. It's time to show the purists and the universe what humans and Novans can accomplish when we work as one. Jake grinned, a fierce light in his eyes. Now you're talking my language. Let's rewrite the stars, shall we? As they prepared to make their stand, Zara knew that the true test of their unlikely alliance was about to begin. The fate of Earth, Nova, and perhaps the entire galaxy would be decided in the next few moments. The Great Escape had become something far more significant, the first battle in a war for the future of two worlds. The mountain air crackled with tension as Zara, Jake, and Aiden crouched behind their makeshift barricade. The sleek prototype spacecraft loomed behind them, their ticket to the stars and Zara's only hope of contacting her people. Between them and their goals stood a squad of purist soldiers, their advanced weaponry gleaming in the moonlight. Any bright ideas? Aiden whispered, his usual jovial tone replaced by tightly controlled fear. Zara's mind raced. Her Novan training had never prepared her for a situation like this. But then again, nothing about this mission had gone according to plan. She glanced at the portable cloaking device Himani had given them, an idea forming. Actually, she said, a hint of her old confidence returning, I think I do. Quickly, she outlined her plan. Jake's eyebrows rose higher with each word, a slow grin spreading across his face. That's insane, he said when she finished. I love it. They moved swiftly, reconfiguring the cloaking device to Zara's specifications. As they worked, the purist forces began to advance, energy weapons charging with an ominous hum. Surrender the alien. An amplified voice boomed across the launch site. Resistance is futile. You're only delaying the inevitable. Jake stood up, hands raised in apparent surrender. All right, he called back. Just don't shoot, okay? We're coming out. As Jake slowly walked forward, Zara and Aiden activated the modified cloaking device. A shimmering field enveloped the spacecraft, but instead of hiding it, the field expanded, creating multiple illusory copies of the ship across the launch site. The purists faltered, confused by the sudden appearance of dozens of identical spacecraft. In that moment of hesitation, Zara struck. Using her Novan agility, enhanced by weeks of adapting to Earth's gravity, she leaped from their hiding spot, racing towards the real spacecraft. Chaos erupted. The purists, unable to distinguish the real shit from the illusions, began firing wildly. Jake and Aiden seized the opportunity, using their own weapons to provide covering fire for Zara. As she reached the spacecraft's entry ramp, Zara turned back. Her heart clenched at the sight of her human friends fighting desperately against overwhelming odds. In that moment, she made a decision that would change the course of two civilizations. Jake, Aiden, she called out, come with me. They looked at her in shock, but the decision was made in an instant. Dodging energy blasts, they sprinted towards the ship. Zara's fingers flew over the control panel, bringing the engines to life as her friends dove inside. The spacecraft lifted off just as the purists realized their mistake. Energy bolts sizzled past the hull as they rocketed into the night sky, leaving the chaos of the launch site behind. As the curvature of the Earth became visible through the view screen, a tense silence filled the cockpit. They had escaped, but at what cost? Starhold was compromised, their friends left behind to an uncertain fate. So, Aiden said finally, his voice shaky but tinged with wonder, I guess we're the first humans to leave Earth in an alien spacecraft, huh? Despite everything, Zara couldn't help but smile. Technically, it's only part alien. You humans did most of the work. As they broke through the upper atmosphere, Zara activated the enhanced distress beacon. Almost immediately, a response came through, a Novan patrol ship, just at the edge of the solar system. This is Explorer Zara. Identification code Gamma 7-93, she transmitted, her voice filled with a mix of relief and trepidation. I've made contact with the indigenous species of the third planet, requesting immediate diplomatic rendezvous. There was a pause, then a shocked reply. Explorer Zara, by the stars, we thought you were lost. Stay where you are, we're on our way. As they waited for the patrol ship to arrive, Zara turned to her human companions. Their faces were a mix of emotions: fear, excitement, sorrow for those left behind. I know this isn't how you imagined your first trip to space, she said softly, but I promise you, I will do everything in my power to protect your world and help your people. What you've done for me, the risks you've taken, it won't be forgotten. Jake nodded, his eyes fixed on the blue marble of Earth below them. We always knew reaching for the stars would come with a price. I just hope it's worth it. It will be, Zara said with conviction. Today marks the beginning of a new era for both our peoples. There will be challenges ahead, misunderstandings to overcome. The purists won't give up easily, but together, I believe we can forge a path to a brighter future. As the sleek form of the Novan patrol ship appeared in the distance, Zara felt a profound shift in her perspective. She had come to Earth expecting to find a primitive, hostile world. Instead, she had discovered unlikely allies, friends willing to risk everything for the promise of a larger universe. Earth was indeed a deathworld, harsh and unforgiving, but it had given birth to a species of remarkable resilience and innovation, a species ready to take its place among the stars. Aiden's voice broke through her reverie, filled with childlike wonder. So Zara, what's your home like? As Zara began to describe the crystal spires and floating gardens of Nova, she knew that this was just the beginning. The story of humanity's entry onto the galactic stage was about to be written, and she was honored to play a part in it. The patrol ship drew closer, its docking bay opening to receive them. Zara took one last look at the Earth, the beautiful blue world that had changed everything. Welcome to the universe, my friends, she said softly. Our greatest adventure is just beginning. As their small craft was enveloped by the larger ship, Zara knew that the fate of two worlds now rested on their shoulders. The road ahead would be challenging, filled with diplomatic hurdles, technological exchanges, and the ever-present threat of those who feared change. But looking at the determined faces of Jake and Aiden, Zara felt a surge of hope. Humanity had proved itself on its Deathworld crucible. Now, it was time for them to show the galaxy what they could do. The story of the little alien girl's terrifying experience on Earth had transformed into something far greater, the dawn of a new age of interstellar cooperation and discovery. And as the stars streaked past the viewscreen, Zara couldn't help but smile. The universe would never be the same again.